The Flash Season 3, Episode 9, The Present. Now, this was the mid-season finale for Flash. We won't have The Flash anymore until, I believe, like mid-January or something like that. And honestly, I thought this was an okay mid-season finale. It wasn't, like, super epic. Like, mid-season finales are supposed to be like, holy crap, this happened. And they kind of had that a little bit, but typically it's the epic ending where this is supposed to happen. And instead, the epic moment in this whole episode was like, oh, Barry went to the future and he sees that Iris is going to die in like 5 months. I thought he went way further in the future because they had like the TV inside the bus stand. I don't know how much money Central City has, but I've never seen that before. I thought he was like way in the future. I was like, oh, they got TVs in the bus stops and stuff. But apparently Central City's just rolling in the dough. Um, but I was like, all right, that's a cool moment. But then it's like, oh, I have 5 months to figure this out, and we know that he will. And that's kind of why I didn't think it was that epic. I'm like, all right, Iris West is not only a main character in the show, she's a main character in comic books because she is the wife of Barry Allen. She is the wife of Barry Allen. She is the mother of some people, I don't know, and eventually that leads to Impulse. I don't know the people in between, but it leads to Impulse. Um, and like that's an important thing in comics, and so I know that that's where they're going because they're not gonna kill those characters off. That would be insane if they did that. I wouldn't hate them because no better way to get me than to kill off a character I don't think is gonna ever die. But I just don't think she's gonna die. Like that's why I don't feel like it's super epic because it's like, oh, okay, if that happened at the end of the episode and it just cut off there, like he didn't get back to the past or anything. He was like stuck in the future and he just saw her die and he's like, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do. That would have been a crazy ending because he's trapped in the future, which also would have been that insane because I'm like, he can run to the past. Like he always does that. But it was like, okay, he saw this happen. It freaked him out, which it should. And then Jay grabs him, which is awesome that Jay was like basically in the whole episode of the mid-season finale, as well as a very awesome cameo by Mark Hamill as the Earth 3 trickster. He sounded even more like the Joker in this episode than he did when he was the Earth 1 trickster. So that was pretty awesome. Just to have that cameo. I thought they were going to be in it, or I thought he was going to be in it more because I saw the picture. I was like, oh, Mark Hamill's going to be in it. I just assumed that he was going to be in the episode a lot more. But it was awesome to at least have that cameo. Mark Hamill was really cool, and of course he was the trickster in the old Flash show. So having him and the old Flash together, that's always really cool. But Jay pulls him back and is like, all right, I was in the future. It was 5 months from now. Somehow Savitar comes back. So it has implications, of course, for some really epic stuff, like how does Savitar get back? Of course, how does Barry end up stopping Savitar from killing Iris? There are a million different things. He's got 5 months to figure this stuff out. Eventually, of course, he's going to end up telling everyone because that's just television. Everyone's going to find out at some point, and they're going to have to find a way to make a plan to save her life. So that's the only reason. It's just like, oh, it's not an immediate thing. It's 5 months from now, and I'm almost 100% sure that he'll succeed. Maybe something will happen, and he'll switch it, and they'll do like, oh, someone has to die sort of thing, so someone else ends up getting killed. Maybe they'll do that. It's just really hard to say, but I just didn't think. I mean, I loved all the stuff other than like the way they ended it, because it's like I just didn't think it was like an epic mid-season finale ending. It was a good episode. Like if this was just a normal episode, this would have been great, and I still think it was a great episode. Just as a mid-season finale, it's like, oh, this is just like, all right, well, let's see what happens next week type of episode. It's still cool, but the way it ended was just like, it's just a typical ending. And it was just the Christmas thing. Like, my nose is itching like crazy. But other than that, like, I mean, I feel like I'm nitpicking because really it was only that ending where it's like, oh, this wasn't like an epic thing. Nothing like truly epic happened. They like half beat the villain. So, like, in a sense, that was really awesome. And then it's like, oh, somehow he comes back. So, the ideas are like the coolest part about the whole episode because at this point I am like, well, how in the world does he come back? Like they just did this epic thing where they ran super fast and he throws the box into the Speed Force, which was a really cool moment. And then he sees the future, and then Jay pulls him back, and it's just like, all right, I'll figure it out. And then that's kind of it. And I'm just like, oh, well, that's somewhat lackluster. Like everything else they did was super epic. Um, Barry, he went full season one. He's just like, all right, I'll take my mask off. So I was like, that's kind of funny to me. But he tells Julian the truth, and which I also thought was funny when he took his mask off, and Julian, it was like one of the best moments of someone trusting you because they realize who you are and that you trust them. Because he lied to him. He's like, no, I never blacked out, and he took his mask off after Julian was like, oh, telling you the truth is coming from a guy in the mask. And as soon as he did it, he was like, have you been having blackouts? He was just like, yes. And I was like, that's actually pretty awesome. I was like, that it was really funny, but I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense that would happen. It's like, all right, this dude's been running around. He's the superhero, and he literally just took his mask off because I called him out on it. It's like, all right, I guess you can actually help. So I thought that was actually really cool. It was also just really funny too. But them finding out the truth about each other, Julian finding out that he didn't even finding out that he didn't even realize he was alchemy was actually really awesome too, because I thought it was like, oh, he's I had all these theories in my head like, oh, he's alchemy, so he's just really mad because he can't get powers or something like that. Or I mentioned before, like every time he gives people powers they end up being villains, but he doesn't even remember being alchemy. So we get the flashback where he's looking for the Philosopher's Stone, which is absolutely hilarious for anyone who knows Harry Potter. um, so he ends up getting that, and that's basically what releases Savitar. And this is where things got really weird for me, because Savitar is like, all right, you in the future, Barry, trap me. And as soon as he said that, I was like, okay, I am confused because I don't understand how that happens. But my theory on that is just like how Barry threw him into the Speed Force in this episode, future Barry did the same thing. So he threw him into the Speed Force after trapping him in the box. Can't destroy the stone because Savitar is like the first person to get speed, and he's almost like the physical embodiment of the Speed Force, which explains why he's so incredibly fast, which I figured anyway. But I'm assuming that that's what happened. So future Barry, or original, or I guess alternate future Barry, I'm not even gonna bother. Future Barry threw him into the Time Force, and so they mentioned the Time Force is infinite. It's like all of eternity. It's just within time. You can show up anywhere at any time, and I thought that makes a lot of sense because if he was thrown into the Time Force by Future Barry, if anyone ever opened the box, it makes sense that Savitar would just show up wherever the box was open. Like, no matter when the time was, it makes sense that he'd be basically sucked out of the Time Force because of, or not Time for the Speed Force, because of the stone, and that's how he would be able to basically exist within whatever, random year it was. So I feel like that's why that makes sense to me, because of how the Speed Force, I keep saying Time Force, how the Speed Force actually works. So that's my theory. They didn't really, unless I completely missed it, I felt like they didn't explain it at all. It was just like, yeah, future, you did this, and now I'm here to kill you because you made me mad. It's kind of like a reverse Flash sort of thing. It's like, I know the future of you guys, so one will betray you, one will die. I'm assuming the dying thing was supposed to be Iris, but who knows how that's going to really play out at this point. And they still have the betrayal thing, so we don't know how that's going to play out. It could, of course, be Caitlin is forced to use her powers to the point where she just flat out becomes Killer Frost. It could be something else, totally different. You just don't know. So I am excited to see how that all plays out. I'm assuming the betrayal thing, all that stuff is going to happen within this season. But I am excited to see how it plays out. I am curious how in the world Savitar escapes within these 5 months thing, which probably will be a part of that betrayal. We already saw a little hint of Cisco being corrupted because, Savitar kind of preys on people that lost loved ones. We also know that Caitlyn has dealt with that as well. So they might do that. So has everyone else. Like, literally everyone except for Joe has watched somebody die. And I guess HR. So I don't know how the heck that's going to play out. I guess it could be anyone if they, do the manipulation thing again. But I am excited for this show to start up again, of course, because it's Flash. It's really fun. But I just felt like this episode just didn't really, blow me away as far as mid-season finales. It was really good. And then, I think it was, the last, I guess, 5 minutes, it was just like, oh, a Christmas party, and that was really it. It had some funny scenes for sure. HR Drunk was absolutely hilarious to me. And then we see that Wally was given his costume, so they're finally acknowledging him, like, hey, here's your costume. I'm super happy about that. We got to see him a little bit. I thought something cool was gonna happen, but Savitar like grabbed him, and he was like, he's about to run. And he's just like, nope, and he just threw him. I was like, oh, I thought he'd like have like one dodge, and he'd be like, oh, look how he dodged it, and Barry couldn't even do that. It was like, no, he grabbed him by the throat and just tossed him like a rag doll. I was like, oh, okay, no, he's not that good. So that makes a lot of sense because it's Savitar, but he's gonna get his costume, so we get to see Kid Flash. Hopefully, in the mid-season premiere, they just go full-on Flash and Kid Flash together. That would be amazing. Um, we got these prophecies going on. One will die, one will betray you, that sort of thing. So we just have to see where it goes. Julian is now a part of the fold, and I'm actually excited to see how that plays out with his expertise and him actually, being a full-on member of the team if he lives. Because we don't really know how that plays because um, we found out in this episode that when Julian is alchemy, it's almost like Savitar existing in two places at once a little bit. So who knows? They kind of broke him free of that. That was kind of the point. But if Savitar gets out, then I assume he's gonna want his alchemy, his right hand man back. So who knows? But I am excited to see how this show kicks off. We have Barry in a new house, which is super huge. I mean, even when I was watching with my girlfriend, I'm like, how much money does this dude have? Because he's renting out, restaurants 2 times. Whole place is empty because he bought it out. He's buying houses. Like, I know he doesn't pay rent, but I don't think CSI gets paid that much money. Maybe they do. I mean, it is a CSI. It's basically, he's a cop. So I don't know. I guess he does. I don't know. And plus, he's got, like, there's something that Reverse Flash left him. Like, he left him Star Labs, but I guess he left him some money too. I don't know, because that dude is effing rich. He bought that fancy apartment. I'm like, man, got a lot of money. But excited for the show to come back. And just, like I said, I felt like it didn't have like a super epic ending. It was just like a nice holiday ending where they got an apartment and it was sweet. And Iris made a funny joke where she's like, I got you a wallet, that sort of thing. But still a fun episode. Just, the epic part was kind of just, it felt like it just wasn't as epic as it could have been because it wasn't in the present. It was just like, all right, that's 5 months from now. I just don't feel any urgency because I feel like they're just gonna figure it out and it'll be fine. That's honestly how I feel because he has so much time. It's not like that's next week. We got like 7 days to figure this out. He's like, that's 5 months from now. I would assume most of the season is gonna still be before that 5 months, unless they do like a whole season and then next season is Savitar again, which I kind of doubt. But we'll see what happens when the show comes back. But I did enjoy it. I know I'm nitpicking a lot about the way it ended not being super epic, but it was a really fun episode. Like, all the stuff they did with Savitar was entertaining. All this week they've been good with mentioning, like, every show so far, because I watched Arrow today. Everybody's been like, remember the Dominators? Like, yeah, it happened last week. Like, they never mentioned the crossovers, but I guess once it's aliens, it's like, yeah, we're aliens, huh? So I thought it was funny. Like, every show has mentioned that so far. I'm waiting to see what they do with Legends. But everyone's just been like, so, aliens, huh? That was crazy. And then they just go on to this episode. But good episode, of course. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And honestly, I want to know what you guys think is going to happen with Savitar killing whoever. I don't think that it's going to be Iris. It's hard to say if they'll kill anyone off. But if they did, and I hate to think this, I honestly think it would probably be Joe over anybody else. Because they only have so many characters. I just feel like Tom Cavanaugh just cannot exist outside of the series anymore for some odd reason, just because of the ways that they've brought him back into the show. So I don't think it'll be him. If it is, I guess I wouldn't care that much if they killed HR. It's just like, all right, let's get Earth 2 Wells because he's as close as we've had to the original, so that's totally fine. Um, so maybe him, but I feel like it would just be Joe. That would be like the greatest impact. They won't do Wally, of course. He just got his powers. They won't do Cisco because they still have to do Vibe because they haven't fully gone that far with it. Killer Frost, same thing. So I just don't know. Like, obviously Barry's not gonna get killed off, so that's kind of where I feel like it's leading. It's either gonna be Joe or Julian. Honestly, those are my two things. It'll probably be Julian because he's a side character. It's an easy way to keep all the main people alive still. Could also be Joe's girlfriend. So I don't know if she'd really get like that wrapped up in it, but wrong place, wrong time sort of thing, it could easily happen. So I don't know. It's hard to say, but if I had to pick a main character, I feel like it would be Joe over everybody else. But I want to know how you guys think it'll end up playing out, how Barry's going to change it or stop it altogether. If you have any theories on how Savitar comes back, I would love to know that as well. I personally felt like it would be another speedster, but they would have to introduce the new speedster because um, it can't be Reverse Flash because this is him. If you watch Legends of Tomorrow, Reverse Flash is the villain in that, which is really sweet. But that's him before he was on the Flash, so it can't be him. And I doubt that they would do another speedster, but maybe if Wally were to get corrupted or mentally messed with, which I don't know how that would work, with the whole Speed Force thing, because the box is in the Speed Force now. But if he was, it makes perfect sense that he'd be the one to bring Savitar back, because it would mess with his mind, and he can run into the Speed Force, because he's even faster than Barry. He could probably do it on his own. Get the box, open the box, boom, Savitar's back. So that's my theory on it as to how Savitar comes back, because that's the only thing I can think of. It has to be a speedster, or it would have to be Cisco, and I don't think that would be the case. But that's my theory. I want to know yours, and of course, want to know what you guys thought about the episode in general. So, like I said, please comment below, let me know, and of course, thanks for watching.